All right, this is the inside scrutineer, specifically the count portion of GOTV E-Day, September 20th. All right, so we have a huge team of count people. We have 156 polls to count, plus advanced polls to count on the day, plus other polls to count on the day after, which escape me for some strange reason. Regardless, we have many to count on the day. So thank you so much for being a part of that and helping us make sure the integrity of the vote is being kept. All right, so inside scrutineers, you are representing us. You are representing TRIA and the campaign. So we are giving you this form called the EC 220 or whatever the heck those electoral officers say. Um, and so when you're going to count the ballots, you're going to make sure that you're there before the polls close. The polls close at 7:30. Regular polls close at 7:30 on election day. So if you show up at 7:31 and they have closed the doors, they have likely locked them and you will not be able to get in. That is their direction, is to close the doors at that point. So whatever you're doing outside, uh, running, getting getting a snack, making sure you're taking into account the time it takes to get there and anything that may come in between you and getting there on time. If you're doing an advance count, the advance count starts earlier at 6:30 because it's actually a longer night for those folks. So they're being a little more gracious and stopping and starting it at 6:30. So you're gonna make sure you have your kit handy. You're gonna have your piece of paper. I don't know why I never even used this for the other ones, but we have a piece of paper. I guess you have it up there. Um, and you're going to be making sure you're wearing your neutral colors, your grays, your blacks, your whites. That's it. Maybe have your bottle of water in hand, maybe a snack if you're doing advance, um, and that's it. You should have a pencil in there, so when you're making tallies, you have a writing utensil. Feel free to use your own. If you have something else that you would prefer, that's totally fine. So you have your kit in your hand, you're going there, you're making sure you wear your neutral colors, you don't have no TRIA badge on, you're going in, and you give that form over to the person at the front desk. They know what to do, they'll get the right person. It's probably the returning officer who's going to be doing that with you. You will sign your declaration that you're going to be a respectful, good person who is not going to interfere with the vote at all. Um, yes, so at that point, you're going to sign off on it. They're going to give you a nice badge to put on. Keep that badge. I mean, at this point, it's the final leg of the race, and it's not like you need that badge to get in and out again, because at that point, you're staying in, you're watching the count. But it does give you validation that you're allowed to be there. So keep that badge, put it on, and the biggest, well, not the biggest part. That is the part of starting out. Um, okay, so at that point, you have your badge. You might have to wait for a few people to vote. Um, when people, it's very important to know that anyone who is in line is allowed to vote. So just be mindful of that if people are if Elections Canada officers are turning people away because they aren't physically in the building, that they're allowed to vote because the lineup is going to be longer. It's COVID times. There's going to be social distancing going on, so that there's a potential for that lineup to go outside the doors. They're physically in line. That's totally fine. They're allowed to vote. If you do see an issue like that, making sure that you're talking to the election officer, not to the voter, um, just to remind them, hey, you might want to take a look at your policy book to see exactly what it says on who's able to vote. If there is an issue, please give us a call. Actually, I would probably prefer you do that first, before interfering. But a gentle reminder doesn't hurt. Because, like I said in previous videos, some people are just new to the job and may not realize the exact extent of their actions. Uh, and you know what? It's been a long day. Maybe it's been 12 hours. It's been a long, long election cycle. So just being mindful that we're all human. Anyways, so everyone has voted. We're ready to count the ballots. You are designated to one polling station. Your zone captain would have told you this before you left, or it's been written down onto your inside scrutineer kit. And so you're sitting down. They're going to open it up. They're going to do all their official stuff. Likely, almost on every scenario, I would think they would open up a booklet and they would follow along in what it says on how they're supposed to do it, so that they're making sure they're doing it by the book. And this is what we want them to do, is to do it by the rules. So I've been a part of counts before. I actually really enjoy the count because it's kind of exciting. It's kind of like game day to me. And so I hope you guys like it as much as me. But hey, you never know. Um, so things to consider. You have the right to see the ballot clearly, both front and back. So when you probably all voted, some of you probably voted in person, and so you would have seen the DRO, or sorry, yeah, the DRO, the Deputy Returning Officer. Sorry if I say returning officer or deputy returning officer. It's also DRO or RO. Sorry, I do a lot of lingo and I try to be mindful that we might have some new counters here. So the deputy returning officer is like a head honcho at the polling location. So he would have, or she would have, or they would have signed on the back. So if there isn't a signature on the back, it may be an invalid ballot. So keep that in mind. Um, while we're on the while we're talking about this, of course, we want to make sure that we're making sure the people voting for TRIA are being able to have their ballot be interpreted correctly. Um, Sad to say, but we aren't really concerned about the other guys. We're just concerned about making sure that the people who want to vote for TRIA are getting their fair share. So, so make sure it's like you're allowed to see both sides if you want, but they will probably just bring it up, and they might flip it over like this, and then set it down into a pile. Um, so yes, signature on the back, that's important to know, and at the front, and the actual voting part, the thing you want to think about always is the intent clear? Does it make sense to everyone? And usually you will all come to an agreement that it does or that it doesn't. If it's contested, you can ask that they log that. They do have a logbook. So let's say you're contesting, you're saying, no, like I know it's clear, and they're saying, no, it's not clear. We've come to an agreement. Most people think that it's not. Or the counter has the final say. Ask them to take it in account on the log, because we anticipate this will be a close race, and to have that information on file is going to help us if we need to contest the count when this is all said and done. No pressure, but if you're able to do that and you feel comfortable, please say, I would like to have my information on the log, or sorry, my contested, yeah. Just saying that you want to have that on the log. Just making sure I go over everything, and it seems like I have. It just mindful in your mind. You're taking any you're just making note of any irregularities that you may have encountered in the process. If they're veering off script, um, you could address that and say, it seems to me that this is how this is interpreted when I read the manual or when I see this. It's like, that's what I think. Um, and you could have that discussion. I wouldn't be argumentative about it, but I would just be like, hey, this is how I interpret it. What do you think? And I let them come to whatever conclusion. But if there's something wrong with the process, just take a mental note and let us know later on. Um, and if we need to have that discussion, we will reach out to you to ask you to recall some of that information. Okay, some examples of them of good marked ballots and not so good marked ballots. Okay, so it all boils down to making sure that intent is clear. So accepted ones, an X by the person's name, totally blacked out. That's fine. A strike through. It's just you can see it's one mark right beside that person's name. Um, you do not want to have like in this scenario here where it's like Ben has shown that he is supporting this candidate. Uh, that is exposing the like who the voter is, and we don't ever want to do that. So that would be considered a spoiled ballot. Um, I would leave that up to a conservative or a liberal or a green representative to point that out. If if that looked like it was going to be an NDP supporter, I would just let that slide, honestly. Um, if you feel there's a way to contest that, please do. Uh, there's so many different ways that we can interpret things. Um, but, anyways, it always boils down to intent is clear. So, yeah, there's some other ones here where it's like we don't have like a preferred candidate and then our backup candidate. We don't do that, so that does not make sense. An X here, that doesn't make sense. Like, does that mean I don't like them? Does that mean, yeah? So just take a look. You'll see kind of ways that like, both two people an X and an O. It's like I don't know. Um, I'm not playing tic tac toe here. So one mark by the person's name, intent is clear. That's what it all boils down to. Always contesting, well, not always contesting, but we're always looking after our own voters. I know it's a very tricky game, and just know that when you do something, it might create precedence, but heck, just just do it because we want to make sure all of our ballots for TRIA have the best chance of being approved. Okay, so while you're going along with this and you're making sure that everything looks great, um, and really, I might have made that sound intimidating, but honestly, there's hardly ever a big disagreement there. You might have a few spoiled ballots, you might have a few rejected ballots, um, but it's all about making note of those things. And if you find you need to tell someone afterwards, just like take a mental note and tell us later. Okay, so you have a tally sheet within your kit. You have a pencil. I know Elections Saskatchewan has nice tally kits. I don't know about Elections Canada, honestly. So they may offer you a tally kit that's not ours, and that's totally cool. You can use that, whatever works for you. Usually the system I use is just the 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the 5 to bring them all together. So the groups of 5 with the lines works well for me, but you do what works for you. Um, just a fun fact: rejected ballots and spoiled ballots are different. A rejected ballot is kind of like a protest ballot, um, and a spoiled ballot is like the ones we mentioned above. Oh, I was actually opposite, I guess. Sorry, guys. Either way, it doesn't really matter. What we care about is those final marks for TRIA and the candidates. When it comes to if we find that it's like really close, we will find out if how many rejected and spoiled ballots there were. So don't worry about that. We just care about those main candidates, how many numbers, that your tallies agree, because you're going to have the conservatives and the liberals and maybe a green, and you're going to have the elections Canada people. We're all going to be tallying probably, and if you get a really good group of people, everyone's going to be like, hey, you have 50 for this person, 110 for that person, 20 for this person, and it's great. And it agrees, and then they'll seal the ballot box, or so they're sorry, they'll take all those ballots, put them in an envelope, seal it, and there'll be some signing. They may ask you to sign it. You don't have to, but I mean, you're just already there. They just want to have a witness. So if you want to sign it, you go ahead. Okay, so this is really, really, really important. In your ballot, in your kit, there's gonna be a piece of paper with like a URL and a QR code and a phone number on it. I want you at the end of the night, when you've gotten your tally, to uh, to report that back into us. So the first way, and really the only way I would like you to bring in those final tallies, is through that URL on your smartphone. You can type it in, or you can scan the QR code. It's going to go to the same one, which is a Google form. And so it's going to ask you to put in your name, what poll you did, and the the final tally for everyone. You submit and you're done. Okay. If you have any issues with that, and or maybe you're just not as tech savvy, you have some barriers that just you can't get through to that Google form for whatever reason, um, then you will text or call uh, the number provided on there, which is our campaign number. It does take, if you want to take a picture of it and send it, it accepts it. That's fine. If you want to type it in and send it off, that's fine. If you want to phone it in, that's also fine. But remember that if you're going to phone it in, there may be other people trying to phone in at the same time. So you're going to want to try and try again. So this is a big reason why we're trying to do the form, because you don't have a lineup. It's just type it in, enter, done. If you're doing the phone, it becomes a little bit more of a process. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so you have all your information. You're going to take that back to your zone house and stick it into the bin that's outside. It's likely that your zone captain isn't there at that point. Maybe they're doing a count. Maybe they're actually there and they're tidying up, which is great. But there's likely going to be a big bin outside that's clearly marked, and that's where you put your information into. And your zone captain will collect that information uh, later on in the night. At that point, like, pat yourself on the back. It's been a long day. It's been a long few weeks. Some of you have been volunteering throughout this whole time. Thank you to absolutely everyone for pitching in an hour here, a few hours there, whatever you can do. This is such a long campaign. We have like something like 200 people just in one day to make this last day a success. So thank you so much for being a part of it. I really, really hope that you have been able to get something great out of it, and maybe and find some new friends, get more involved in campaigns in the NDP. And I know this year is a lot different because we aren't doing a after party. Usually we would just say, hey, take all your information to the after party and let's have a drink, let's chat and have a great time and watch the numbers come in. But unfortunately we can't. We're trying to do this for the safety of everyone. So when we can gather, I hope that we can get together really soon. But in the meantime, let's social distance and be safe. If you have any questions up until the day, please reach out to us, email or phone. Otherwise, on election day, it is your zone captain. I know I keep saying this, but I'm just going to keep saying it. It's always your zone captain. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much. We will see you on election day. And My name's Sawyer. I'm the GOTV organizer. I'm happy to help if I can. Um, Reach out before, not during the day. Have fun, enjoy, and we'll see you soon.